Good morning, guys. We hope you're having a great morning. This is Sheila and Fred with Hatfield, McCoy Museum and Adventures, plus FS Investigates.
Today, it will be more Hatfield McCoy
Mm.
Museum Adventures. Guys, it's probably going to be a long video unless you're a historian of the Hatfields and McCoys. Probably not going to interest you. If you are a historian, it's going to be a revelation. This is going to be right up there with some of the bigger things that Sheila and I have researched and come up with throughout the years.
It's definitely interesting.
This one here, I give credit to Sheila. I give credit to a lot of people.
Thank you.
But Sheila did a lot of research on this and come up with some court records. This is not Fred and Sheila speculating. Well, we're going to say that in a minute for the disclaimer, but we have the legal court documents. And in fact, we're going to go through a lot of them. So it may be boring to some of you, but this is a case that I've talked about, harped on for a lot of years, and people says, oh, why is Fred so bent out of shape over DNA for? Well, you may get to see why from court records. You know, and I don't want to talk about it a lot. This is nothing personal against nobody. This is solely research of Hatfields and McCoy and things that we can prove. But back a while back, myself and Jack Hatfield had some words. It's gone on for a while, but because of stories and stuff that's been told in history, and we disagreed. And I've also been asking for DNA from various people. And Jack had taken the DNA, and while I was researching the DNA, he seen where I found it. And he makes this big discovery like 2 days before we announced it. But let's get off of that. That's not it. I want to discuss the statement. Jack had emailed me. There's the
messaged you on.
Yeah, Jack had messaged me on that little flag right up here. There was a little red dot, and that meant that I had a message. And when I checked it, it was from Jack Hatfield, and he had made the comment about researching. But the second time that he messaged me, and this story's not about Jack Hatfield. This story is about Tennis Hatfield and
Sadie.
Sadie Viola Walters Hatfield. But in Jack's message to me there, he says, I do know of some of my cousins whom you also discuss quite often, who we do not think are actually grandsons of Devil Anse due to divorce papers we found for adultery. And then I asked, great on ordering the Y-DNA. Jack's supposed to be going to take a Y-DNA, and that's great. We'll wait to hear the results. And I said, great on ordering the Y-DNA. Jack, what relation to you is Rio Hatfield? Because, see, guys, there's only been 2 of his cousins, so-called cousins, that I've ever questioned. Rio Hatfield and William Keith Hatfield. Both of these fellows are spokesmen for the Pike County Tourism in Pikeville, Kentucky. There's several videos. There's several things out there where they are historians of the feud. Rio went as far as to sign a 3rd, 4th peace treaty in 2003. And underneath in the statement there, he says, by a descendant of Devil Anse Hatfield, and Randall McCoy, and then he's got his signature, Ron and Bo McCoy. Which one of them's a descendant of Devil Anse? Because it's not Rio. Rio's not a descendant of Devil Anse Hatfield. So that one's wrong. Another video we done a while back was of the Henry rifle they were selling for $3,000 each. And it says, signed by a Devil Anse descendant, Rio Hatfield. Well, once again, it's been proven Rio Hatfield is not a descendant of Devil Anse Hatfield. Not a descendant. It's big words when you say descendant. It's fraudulent. It's wrong. It's incorrect. just as the story with Hubert Bay McCoy, but I'm not going there. She's already kneeing me. This is bigger, guys. This is a big story. Now, William Keith Hatfield is another cousin, supposedly, of Jack Hatfield's. And as I looked through Ancestry the other day, I can't see the results. They must have it private because I can't see it. But I seen where Jack Hatfield's taking a DNA. Ron McCoy has taken a DNA. And Rio Hatfield has taken a DNA. Now, I can't see the results, but it shows that we're related.
Okay.
So they're somewhere in that line. Now, whether Jack is the Y-DNA of Devil Anse is Hatfield, we're going to find that out when Jack does his test, and that will be great. That will settle that argument. But with Jack's statement, it raised a lot of questions, a lot of people's curiosity when he mentioned that there was a divorce, Devil Anse, due to divorce papers that were found for adultery. Well, Sheila's found the divorce papers for adultery. And going back to Jack's statement, he said cousins, as in plural. There's cousins that you have had questions about that we also have questions. Well, the only two is Rio and William Keith. Thanks to all those who helped in our research of the truth. Who are the real children of Tennis and Sadie Hatfield? That's part of this video today.
Yep. That's what we're...
Who are the illegitimate children of Sadie and Tennis Hatfield? See, because you're going to hear from both. In these court decrees, you're going to hear where there was illegitimate children and there was actual children. Disclaimer here: speculation, opinion, and allegations. Guys, we don't have a pot to pee in or a window to throw it out personally of our own.
Nope.
But anyway, what we say, a lot of things may be speculation, may be opinion, may be allegations. I think what you're going to see, alleged. Thank you, babe. I think what you're going to see here, and Sheila's going to post this stuff at the end of the video so you can research it. You can go Google right to the court case, or you can go to Logan County and find the court case.
Yeah.
The headline of this newspaper a gentleman sent us, a good friend of ours.
Yep.
Divorce suit filed by Sheriff Hatfield. Headlines: divorce suit filed by Sheriff Hatfield, who also asked for children's custody. The sheriff is wanting custody of his children. New suit filed in circuit court. Chief in interest among the new suits filed in circuit court is one wherein Sheriff Tennis Hatfield seeks divorce from Sadie Walters Hatfield. Can you read that, babe? The separation?
The separation took place about 10 days ago, and Mrs. Hatfield is now said to be at the home of her brother in Huntington.
She will be charged with infidelity, and the names of several local men of prominence will be mentioned when the case comes to trial, according to information from one of those close to the sheriff.
Mr. Hatfield will ask for the custody of their 3 children, all of whom are with him now. C.A. Hatfield represents the plaintiff.
Now, guys, listen to these 2 statements. The one statement says Mr. Hatfield will ask for the custody of their 3 children, all of whom are with him now. We're going to name those children in a minute.
So they're saying when they separated, she left the children with him and she went to live with her brother.
Oh, yeah. The Hatfields were married.
In 1917. I see that.
Yeah, 1917. Let's go back to this. He's got the 3 children. She has left. She's gone to Huntington to live with her brother. He kept the 3. Let me emphasize, 3 children that he and her had together. Now, It says that C.A. Hatfield represents the plaintiff.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Who's C.A. Hatfield? Cap, Anderson, Hatfield, C.A. didn't want to put Cap, just put C.A. Was Cap the attorney? See, that's where people's got a lot of stories over the years, because Cap sat at the table when Willis was up on murder charges because he sat with his stepson, who was an attorney. People said, oh, Cap was an attorney. And because of this paper here, because other people talked to us and they commented, they said, yeah, that's CA, that's Cap. You all have been wrong all this time. Cap was an attorney. That proves it. Really? Well, at the end of this video, when Sheila posts these legal papers, look and see what you think, because it names the attorneys in this case. Let's see if Cap Hatfield's one of them. How about that? The case is Hatfield versus Hatfield. Hatfield v. Hatfield. Opinion number 6676. Go ahead, babe.
Okay, it was submitted on May the 14th, 1930, and it was decided on May the 20th, 1930.
Guys, this is an appellate decision here.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to hear in a minute where the divorce actually took place at night. Tennis. This thing, I'm going to tell you what. Well, I won't tell you yet because you don't know who the attorney is, but Tennis had a good attorney.
Yeah.
You got to give them credit.
Well, yeah.
You go ahead. What'd you have? This case was submitted on May the 14th. Look how fast things moved back in that day. May the 14th, and on May the 20th, 6 days later, they've already come up with a decision in the appellate court. Appeal from Circuit Court in Logan County. Suit by T.S. Hatfield. Tennis Samuel Hatfield. Go ahead, babe.
And Sadie Hatfield.
Wherein the defendant filed an answer in the nature of a cross bill decree for plaintiff, and from an order refusing to set the decree aside, defendant appeals. Sadie has filed an appeal because, see, you're going to hear here in a minute where Tennis went on with the divorce, and his lawyer, they had a divorce. And now the appeals court has reversed and remanded that decision. Oh, who's the attorneys here? Can you see that name, babe? I don't know how to pronounce it. Her attorney was W.E.R. Brain or Bine. B-Y-R-N-E. You'll see it at the end of this video. That is Sadie's attorney. W.E.R. Brine for appellate. Guess who the C.A. Hatfield is? Stands for Coleman A. Hatfield. Coleman A. Hatfield. He's the son. He was the son of Cap Hatfield. Now, y'all understand this. This divorce was filed for in 1928. This appeal went through in 1930. Cap Hatfield died in 1930. Cap Hatfield was in no condition. That was the second clue that C.A. Hatfield was not Cap Hatfield, because Cap actually died. He was at Hopkins University? J.O. Hopkins, whatever it is.
I think. I'm not
in
for
Baltimore,
sure.
Maryland?
Yeah. I know that. It was in Baltimore.
Coleman Hatfield, not Cap. When you all see a C.A. Hatfield as attorneys in court records and stuff, that's not Cap. All the people that don't watch our videos they'll always go on thinking that from Facebook pages and all these scandalous reviews and things that people give, rather than actually going with history and wanting to post the truth. We posted either way. The judge in that case was
Judge Woods. The
questions raised by this appeal are purely procedural, the judge has wrote. The evidence is not before this court. They're not going to look at the evidence. They're just evaluating what took place earlier in Logan Circuit Court.
Okay.
This situation makes a full statement of the steps that were taken. T.S. Hatfield instituted a suit for divorce from his wife, Sadie Hatfield, in November. Go ahead.
In November of 1928.
28. In the bill, Tennis charged his wife, which is the appellant in this here. She's the one that's filed for the appeal. Tennis has accused her of having committed adultery with divers men. Now, divers men, people, men that's forced or coerced or whatever in having sex with somebody, from what I can understand. Guys, neither one of us are legal scholars. Neither one of us are attorneys. We didn't even stay at a Holiday Inn last night. So you've got to take what we're saying with a grain of salt. We're trying to read this legal brief.
Exactly.
Go ahead, babe.
Tennis asked for the custody of their 3 children. Their 3 children at that time were Tennis Jr., Jack, and Henry Drury Hatfield.
That's the 3 kids, guys. You're going to hear other kids brought up later on. That's the 3 kids that belong to Tennis and Sadie Hatfield that anybody can prove. That's ever been proven. Now, anything's possible. And again, we challenge people and beg them and ask them. And these people that's claiming to be the great grandsons of Devil Ants or Tennis, and we ask them. We have asked them, take DNA test. Now, on that thing I was talking to Jack about, there's 2 tests that's been taken. They didn't put their names on it. And they didn't come back related. They have a test result number, but no name. Somebody wanted to take a test and see if they were related to Devil Ants, and when it came back a different way, they've said, hey, I want this kept private forever. I don't want it divulged.
Really?
Yeah.
So that's why they just put the case number.
And we don't know. We don't know if it's somebody that later on come out and said, oh, I'm the great-grandson of Devil Ants, or I'm Tennis's grandson, because we don't know who that was.
Right.
But if it's not one of these people we're thinking it is, then it'd be a good time to take one. And either way, again, Sheila and I don't care if these people's related or not.
Right.
But if they're going to be spokesmen and tell history, they should at least be related to who they say they are. I mean, you can tell history, but don't say you're Devil Ants's grandson or the grandson of Tennis Hatfield if you're not. If you're afraid to take a DNA to prove it, there might be a reason for that. Now, there's a bunch of
stuff.
Yeah, documents down through there. We're not going to read all that stuff and bore you, but it says that the petition and motion under Section 1C, 128 Code for the removal of the cause to another circuit. The ground for which removal been fully set out in said petition, which was verified by her affidavit.
So she's not wanting it to take place in Logan?
Yeah.
She's wanting it to in a different county.
Sadie wanted it to be moved out of Logan County.
Okay. Well, can't really blame her. On February the 21st, 1929, the plaintiff filed in open court a paper designated the reply of T.S. Hatfield to the petition of Sadie Hatfield.
Now, on February the 21st of 29, now remember, they filed for this divorce in 28. November the 18th of 28 is when this divorce was filed for. You're going to hear later on where other children were born in 29. Sadie gives them the Hatfield name, but they filed for divorce in 28, and now it's February 21st, 29, and the plaintiff filed in open court a paper designated the reply of T.S. Hatfield to the petition of Sadie Hatfield, praying, among other things, that the cause be referred to the divorce commissioner of Logan County. This is Coleman C. Hatfield, guys. I'm going to tell you something. And people said Fred's hard on Hatfields. Fred's West Virginia Hatfields, Kentucky Hatfields. You'll never hear me say nothing about Blackberry Hatfields. That's some good Hatfields. That's some good people, period. Hatfields, McCoys, it don't matter. They're good people. But the case was referred to the divorce commissioner of Logan County. Coleman C. Hatfield, the attorney, has filed this, and he doesn't care where anything takes place or what's done. He just wants it to be judged adjudicated in Logan County, and that he be directed to return all return of court testimony in this case. He says that, well, here it is, Sheila.
Tennis wanted the case to remain in Logan County, West Virginia. Whether the same to be taken before him or a divorce commissioner in the same county.
Tennis and Coleman's, the papers that Coleman A. Hatfield had filed, he says she's complaining. She's saying she ain't got no income. She's destitute. She can't afford a lawyer. She can't afford to travel back and forth to Logan County. And she wants the case moved out of Logan County because of politics.
To make it fair.
And Coleman A. Hatfield says, hey, okay, you can go before a divorce commissioner. Evidently, they had commissioners back in that day. Okay, you can go before a divorce commissioner wherever you're at your convenience, at your leisure. Give your statement, deposition, but it will be mailed. Remember, there was no cell phones, no fax machines back then. So it will be mailed to Logan County, where the Logan County judge can take it under. If Sadie wanted to give testimony in another county, it was okay, but they wanted it handled in Logan County.
And that such divorce commissioner to whom the report was directed be instructed further to report all such testimony pertaining to the suit back to the circuit court of Logan County.
You understand what we're saying here, guys? In this appeal,
that makes
in this appeal, Coleman A. Hatfield wants the divorce commissioner up there to hear whatever she's got to say. Send it back to Logan County where we're going to adjudicate it here in this county, though. Sadie Hatfield, having failed in her effort to employ counsel in Logan County, employed a Charleston attorney. She couldn't find anybody in Logan County that she trusted or could afford.
That's what I was going to say, because he's well known.
Oh, yeah.
Mr. Hatfield was, and she didn't feel, and this is my opinion, she didn't feel like she could get a fair trial.
So we go back to W.E.R. Brain for the appellant for Sadie, who entered into correspondence with the plaintiff's attorney, Coleman A. Hatfield, for the appealee. They started writing letters back and forth, who resided in Logan County, and they were writing about the divorce, trying to settle it. By letter of February the 20th, 1929. Now, it started out in November. We're up to February. Counsel for the plaintiff informed opposing counsel that he was filing a general replication to the answer in the nature of the cross bill, and also a reply to the petition for removal, saying the plaintiff expects to resist the motion for a removal of this cause from Logan County. The plaintiff expects to resist. She knew that they were going to resist having this case moved out of Logan County anywhere else. So they're going to try to, the lawyer in Charleston's trying to confer with Coleman A. Hatfield about how they're going to go about handling this case.
Okay.
I'm not going to, guys, go read this. It's some interesting stuff.
It really is.
Go ahead, babe.
Sorry. According to the counsel for the appellant, he heard nothing more from the case until April the 2nd of 1929.
April the 2nd, 1929. When upon communicating with the attorney for the plaintiff, communicating with the Charleston attorneys, communicating with Tennis Hatfield's attorney, which is his nephew, which is Coleman A. Hatfield, in a long-distance telephone with the intention of arranging with him a time for the argument of this motion for removal. The Charleston attorney called Coleman A. and said, hey, when can we get together and set this for a hearing? Let's listen here what's said. He was met by the latter, Coleman A. Hatfield, with a statement to the effect that go ahead, babe.
That the case had been tried the night before, and that a decree had been entered granting to the plaintiff a divorce. How can you do that the night before?
You're in Logan County. You're a Hatfield.
Well, that's why she didn't want it in Logan County.
Yeah, this lawyer from Charleston writes wanting to set up a meeting or some
Hadn't heard anything.
No, they're wanting to set it up where they can see how they're going to go about getting this moved out of Logan County. And culmination says, "Oh, I'm sorry. We've done had court. We've done had
That's
a judgment. The judge has granted the divorce,
wow.
and it's over with."
Wow.
Now, remember, this is the appeal,
Mhm.
because that was the case, 1928 case. That was the
Right.
divorce. It's been settled.
Yeah.
On April the 6th of 29, the appellant's attorney filed a motion and petition in writing asking that said decree be set aside, and that upon the same been done, the court would remove the cause to another circuit. As I think that should be case. Remove the case to another circuit as prayed for in the former motion and petition. Go ahead.
An order was entered April the 20th, 1929, refusing to set the decree aside.
Now, guys, April the 6th,
Mm-hmm.
they filed a motion. He says that on April the 2nd, divorce is final. April the 6th, they filed an appeal.
Mm-hmm.
The order, they're refusing to set the decree aside.
Mm-hmm.
The decree on April the 2nd brings the case on to be heard upon plaintiff's bill, the exhibits thereto, and the evidence taken on the plaintiff's behalf in chambers. Guys, this gets interesting. I know it's probably boring to some of you.
Mm-hmm.
This case, it gets interesting.
Easy.
You want to? You want me to?
You can. That's fine.
In her cross bill, the appellant had alleged that she had been driven from her home.
Wow.
By the plaintiff. Sadie saying that she was driven from her home by tenants, mm-hmm. and rendered homeless and destitute of funds for her livelihood. That the plaintiff was a man of great wealth. See, he was great wealth until he didn't have it anymore. That's when he burnt Devil Ance's house down for insurance. And but so at one time he owned saloons, he owned brothels, he owned a lot of things, and had a large annual income. Of course, he was the sheriff. Besides having all these businesses on the side and taking part in illegal things, he was also had an annual income, and prayed the court to grant her an order directing the plaintiff, tenants, to provide a sufficient fund for her maintenance and to enable her to make her defense against the bill filed by the plaintiff and prosecute her cross bill for divorce. She's asking for the court to throw that divorce out, reset it,
restart it
for a hearing, and for him to pay her maintenance fees.
After an appeal had been allowed to this court, appellant's counsel again moved the circuit court of Logan County to enter an order requiring the plaintiff to provide necessary funds for the record and other expenses indicated to prosecuting such appeal. So she was wanting him to pay for her stuff?
Yeah. And they're wanting him to pay for any of the court documents, copies of anything.
I thought they were saying.
But the court made no order therein concerning such motion. They're just Logan County Court is not doing anything. On motion, she was granted leave under the statute by this court to have the cause heard on the original papers. They're not going to hear testimony from Sadie or
Tennis.
Thank you, sweetheart. But the appeals court is going to work on what they've got in the file itself. Whatever's in the file is what they're going to make their judgment on.
Oh.
And they ruled, number one, the removal of the cause to another jurisdiction. Well, that was one of the things they asked for. The allowance of alimony and suit money as prayed for in the cross bill. Sadie was asking for alimony. Number three, the right of the trial court to hear and determine the main issues without having first passed the question of removal and without having made provisions for alimony and suit money. I'm going to tell you what you're not going to hear here, see, guys. The right of the trial court to hear and determine the cause in chambers without actual notice of the appellant
or her counsel.
Under the circumstances disclosed. Plaintiff's right to any decree of divorce. The foregoing will be taken up in their stated order. What did we
Okay.
not hear there, babe? You talked about it earlier, but I know I'm throwing you a curveball. You
Yeah,
probably don't. The children.
Yeah. Why wouldn't she ask for the children?
Nowhere in that original divorce papers, nowhere in the original order did she ever ask for custody of those children. Why? Why? Now we get to these allegations of Sadie,
Thank you.
of her
Infidelity.
Thank you,
Yeah.
babe.
Wow.
You know, Sheila and I have talked, and Sheila,
Yeah.
again, we're yin and yang. We usually take different sides, which makes for interesting discussions, and sometimes we meet in the middle, and sometimes it works out. You know, we've always said we knew Tennis, Wall, Devil Ants, all of them was
Henri.
womanizers. Henri, womanizers. All of them had illegitimate children. All of them had, Judge Wall, Hatfield told the judge he had 5 wives and 32 children. Tennis is supposedly known as the same. But look at Sadie back here.
Okay.
Look at Sadie. When we first come up with this newspaper article, it was like Tennis may have had some people going to say things about Sadie in order to mess up her reputation, slander her reputation, put a black mark against her. You're going to hear in this appeals where they start they're naming people. When you name men that have actually stated that they've done this or that, it may not be as much of a rumor anymore. When you go on to have 2 more children, supposedly, the way I look at it, out of wedlock, it raises questions.
And she went at
Hatfield name, but they was divorced. That was over. They was
interesting.
Yeah, I mean, you know, they very well could have come back, and you know, some married couples has affairs with each other. I don't know what anything's possible. That's why we need a DNA. That's why we need a DNA from anybody that says they're descendants of Tennis Hatfield and Devil Ants. While the matter was urged by the appellate on the 20th of April, 1929, that is not the degree relief upon here. They didn't do it. The order amounted to a motion merely to set aside the decree of April the 2nd, 1929. So now they've set the divorce aside.
Okay.
Remember the nighttime court case where Coleman had said, well, we've done settled that last night. That case is over. They're divorced. Well, they set that decree to the side. The appellate court did.
So they're going to hold off and say that they're not?
No, they're going to discuss it here.
Okay.
This is we're still on the 1930s case.
Yeah.
There's another one, 1932, that's going to come up after this one. This is the first appeal.
Okay.
As herein before shown, the appellant filed her answer denying every material avertment of the plaintiff's bill and her cross bill, charging the plaintiff with sundry and specific acts of it. She's saying she's denying everything. I've never had an affair. I've never cheated. I've never stepped out. But he has.
She's accusing him of doing it.
He has. I ain't done it, but he has. Sadie's accusing Tennis of adultery, as well as cruel and inhumane treatment of the defendant, and having deliberately and forcibly caused her to be driven from the home of herself and the plaintiff on the 18th day of November, 1928. Remember 1928. We don't know how long before they were having problems. Different things that was going on with people running for sheriff. They didn't want to mess up their reputation or have a scandal in the middle of an election. That's the day that they have just said it's over. We don't know how long before that, on which date the plaintiff and defendant separated. They're saying that November the 18th was the day that they separated. It was over. Okay. Well, all kinds of legal jargon there, court cases. Go ahead, baby.
However, the fact that the plaintiff does not deny and therefore admits the charges of acts of adultery and cruelty in the cross bill. If not denied, prelude, how do you say that? Preclude, okay, him from the relief for in his bill.
Prayed for in his bill. Yeah, he's asking. However, the fact that the plaintiff does not, so far, tennis in the original motion, that's what they're discussing here. That the way I understand it, the 1928 divorce records, because they're not going to go through the witnesses. They're just going to go by the case itself, what's in that court case at that time. And I would say that Sadie didn't have a whole lot in that court case because he was from Charleston. He's thinking they're going to eventually meet and go to court. They're going to do this and that. So that lawyer's saving all of his stuff for, and next thing you know, they're divorced. Now, instead of discussing a divorce, they're discussing an appeal on a divorce that's already been rendered. The fact that the plaintiff himself has been guilty of inequitable and improper marital conduct. So they're saying that Tennis himself is guilty.
Yeah.
The status of the case, therefore, at this time, the decree complained of was entered, was that the plaintiff, in his bill, made certain charges of infidelity against the defendant. Now, again, go ahead.
So she's, okay, you want to go ahead?
Yeah.
Which, by her sworn answer, she denied. And by her cross bill, she charges the plaintiff with acts of infidelity and cruelty, which the plaintiff wholly fails to deny.
See, at this time, if they're going by what's in that court case at that time, that's what the appeals court's going by. Just whatever's in that case that Logan County ruled on. And Coleman, it's Coleman.
Hatfield. Yeah.
He didn't expect for the appeal, probably. Had he expected the appeal, he could have asked his client, his uncle, under oath, do you admit or deny these allegations she's made against you? And of course, he would have said, I deny it. Well, that would have been a denial in this record that they're looking at, because they're not talking to nobody now. They're just looking, the appeals court's looking at the record. And in the record, Tennis, he didn't deny it. He didn't deny any of this. Sadie denies she committed adultery, but says that she didn't commit adultery, but Tennis did. So far as the removal of the case was concerned, the case of the appellant rests upon her sworn petition. Now,
so it's he said, she said.
Yeah.
I can't talk today.
He said.
She said.
And you're exactly right. That's basically what it is. He's saying she had an affair. She had affairs. She's saying he had affairs.
They're blaming each other.
The only thing is, the only difference here is Sadie's statement in her record that the lawyer had submitted to Logan County Court in reply to the divorce. She has a sworn statement there. Tennis, you'll hear it here in a minute, but he had the plaintiff in his special reply to appellant's cross bill and motion to remove denied many of the statements of the appellant. But this reply was not sworn to, hence it has no probative value. So the way I understand it, not a lawyer, but where it wasn't sworn, and in that file not sworn, even though he made the statement against her, he made the denial for him.
It doesn't count.
Don't count, baby.
Basically, it's null and void or whatever.
It's null and void.
Okay.
Exactly.
Okay. There is no denial of any appellant's claims in her petition. There are divers affidavits resisting
her motion.
Thank you.
You're fine, baby.
Cannot talk today.
You're fine, baby. Resisting her motion. It's written in a manner that's hard to comprehend. But while such affidavits show them to have been shown sworn, I'm sorry. Thanks. Look at me.
Yeah,
have been sworn to at dates anterior to the hearing and entry of the decree of April the 2nd, 1929. There is no record of their having been filed in any way. There's no sworn documents been filed in any way where Tennis has denied in a sworn statement the allegations. And the fact that they have been transmitted here with the other papers by the clerk does not make them part of this record. I'll tell you, old Coleman A was a good lawyer, guys. You can say
you have
what
to
you
give him
want.
credit.
What Coleman A has done, even though this, huh?
Sneaky.
Even though that, yeah, you can tell he was his grandfather's offspring.
But he's
He
good.
was devil answers. It's conniving. But that's
what the
that's what a
attorneys
lawyer
do
does.
that's what they do for their client.
I don't know if you understand what he did here or not, but the courts have said they're going to take this appeal up. But all they want is the documents that's in the record, that's sworn to, and that was dealt with that day.
Mm-hmm.
And somewhere along the way, there is no such record of them having been filed anyway. And the fact that they have now been transmitted here with other papers to the clerk does not make them part of the record. He's tried to sneak these files in there where Tennis has denied, I didn't have no affairs, I was Angel. But the court has caught that, and the court says, this was not a part of the original case. You all didn't have this in the record.
Huh.
It's my understanding of it. This is not about the case, guys. We've not got to the good stuff. It's in the second.
Potatoes.
It's in the second. We're almost through with this one. It's getting ready, but we just wanted to set the stage.
This is interesting.
But counsel for the plaintiff, in his brief, states that the court was informed by a brother of the plaintiff that the appellant had abandoned her suit and would not be present at trial. Now, Tennis comes up there, or Coleman, and he says that Tennis's brother, speaking of Joe Hatfield, Joe and Tennis were sheriffs at different times. In fact, you'll hear in the next court case where Tennis didn't want to bring a lot of this stuff out at the time because his brother was running for sheriff and he thought it might hinder his election, the scandal. So, and that it was for that reason that the court permitted the case to be heard. This statement finds support in the petition of the appellant for a removal of the case. They find support. This act induced the error. Go ahead, babe.
In view of this fact, this court, while of opinion that it was error to try the case without acting upon appellant's motion for removal.
And guys, they got a lot of jargon going down through there, but the bottom line is, go ahead.
The decrees of April the 2nd and the 20th of 1929 are, for the reasons thereof forgiven, reversed, and the cause remanded.
Reversed. The divorce is null. It's still null.
Wow.
They ruled that the night court that they had there and granting Tennis a divorce without her Sadie
counsel
known to it. They tried to say that they went ahead and had the trial, had the divorce hearing because Tennis's brother, Joe, had stated that he had heard that she wasn't going to appear. She had dropped her suit, her part of it, her wanting to defend herself. That wasn't true, and there was nothing in the court stated that, so the court reversed it. Now, we ain't almost through, but we're going to here's the meat and potatoes, like Sheila says. Hatfield v. Hatfield. Opinion number 7363. So you've got two appellate courts here that you want to look at. 7363 is this one. Submitted September the 21st, 1932.
And decided December the 6th, 1932.
So it took them a couple more months now. It's a couple years later. It used to be they done it in 6 days. Now they're a couple of months out. But appeal from Circuit Court, Logan County, West Virginia.
Suits by T.S. Hatfield against Sadie Hatfield, in which defendant filed cross bill. From an adverse decree, defendant's appeal.
Affirmed. And there's the lawyers again. Now you've got her same lawyer, W.E.R. Brim, for Sadie. And now you've got Coleman A. Hatfield and Charles Ritchie. So Coleman A. Hatfield has taken on a partner, at least for this case, for this appeal. And the judge is
Lively. Judge Lively.
Lively. Judge Lively. By its decree on January 11th.
Your birthday.
1932. That's my birthday. Not 1932.
Yeah.
Yeah. The Circuit Court of Logan County sustained the adulterous charge against alleged by T.S. Hatfield in his divorce proceeding against his wife. They sustained that judgment. Sadie Hatfield and granted him a divorce and the custody of his 3 infant children. Listen up, guys. Very important.
Wow.
Who was his 3 children that he got custody of that him and Sadie had together?
Mm-hmm.
Tennis Jr., 10 years old. Jack, who became known as Handsome Jack Hatfield, who was the father of one of our friends, Stephen Hatfield, that lived there at Sarah Ann for years. And Henry Hatfield, 4 years old. Henry was married to Jean, and they had the Hatfield Monument Company there in Sarah Ann. They also had the little mobile home that was set up as a Hatfield museum years ago. And that's the 3 children. Jack 10, Jack 6, Tennis 10, Henry 4, at the time the divorce was filed. No mention of any other children.
Sadie never asked for custody of the children.
Never asked for custody before this, but would go on to have other children and give them the Hatfield name. One of them was William Grant Hatfield.
Okay.
Born July the 4th, 1929 in Wilmson, Mingo County, West Virginia. Not Logan County, not where Tennis was from. Now, after their divorce, Sadie moved to Huntington, and then later on she moved to Floyd County, Kentucky. That's where she's buried. One day we'll go by there and on the way home to Pike County and show you her gravesite.
Yeah.
William was named after Sadie's brother. She had a brother named William Grant. She named him William Grant, but she gave him the Hatfield name. Why? Well, at this time, she was divorced.
She was divorced from
She
Tennis.
would have been divorced. And William Grant's obituary says he was the last surviving grandchild of Hatfield leader William Anderson Devilance Hatfield. Mr. Hatfield's father was Tennyson S. Hatfield, the youngest of Devilance and Levice's children. Well, was he? Was he? We don't know, guys.
Yeah.
We don't know. There's people out there that can prove to us and show us that with DNA. Because, see, the divorce was over, the first divorce, before they even filed the appeal, so we know that at least they're divorced. Well, they were filing for divorce November the 18th. Now, April the 2nd, that was November the 18th of 28. April the 2nd, they had a court and Logan County ruled that the divorce was good, and they're no longer husband and wife. She's done moved to Huntington, so their marriage is over. Now, she has a baby July the 4th of 29. She goes on
after the divorce,
given the Hatfield name after Tennis and Sadie was divorced. Any children or grandchildren can take a DNA and prove if Hatfield or something else. And especially if they're saying they're spokespersons for the Kentucky tourism people, and they know the history of the feud, and they were born in Detroit, Michigan, raised in Detroit, Michigan, and lived in Oklahoma all their life. When you come to, I feel you, but when you have to come back to Logan County, Sarah Ann, West Virginia, and get a doctor, an old doctor of the family, granddaughter, to show you around, to show you where the Devilance is buried at and the family, and then you want to tell the history of the feud, I take offense to that. I take offense to telling history that you don't know first, and then I definitely take offense if you're not related, if you're actually not a Hatfield, and you have the capability to show that you are. What's up with that? It's real. Jack did it. We give Jack kudos for he did. He stepped up and took the DNA.
Yeah.
He's going to take the Y now to prove that Devilance was not a Vance, which is what the other 2 tests show, from the way I understand it. Doesn't matter to us, but Sadie had a couple other children after the divorce. Go ahead, babe.
Nowhere in court rulings or divorce did Tennis ask for custody of any other children or claim to be the father of with Sadie.
Hey, guys, is that a clue? You know, Tennis wanted his children. He wants to take responsibility for his children, or he didn't want to pay
Child support.
her child support.
And that's what I was thinking, but
He didn't want to pay her child. You could go either way, and we discussed that.
Yeah.
She'll always looks at it.
Yeah.
He could have just taken the kids because he didn't want to pay child support.
Yeah.
But he did take those 3 children, and the court granted him custody of them.
Mhm.
Why? If either one of them here was his, why didn't he take custody? Why didn't he want custody? He never asked for custody. In my opinion, they're not his. Nowhere in divorce did Sadie ask for Tennis to pay child support. Huh. Sadie was wanting that money. He's a man of great wealth. She's wanting that money, and he's got it to pay. But after she had children, she didn't go back, and she knows how to file appeals.
Yeah.
She knows how to use the court system.
Yeah.
Done been in it 3 different cases.
Yeah. Yeah.
She didn't go back and say, I want to add, I'll keep this child, but I want Tennis to pay child support. Now, you didn't have DNA back then, so what you got to go on except the woman and a man's word.
Yeah.
But you're going to hear here in a minute where they name fathers of people. They name people she's having affairs with. You got to remember, there was 12 people. There was 12 men that Tennis brought in there. You'll hear it. Question: did Sadie simply have 2 other children out of wedlock and give them the Hatfield name? It very possible. Go ahead, baby.
Because she didn't remarry until 1937.
1937. Great work, baby. And that's something to look at. They were divorced in 28. She has a child in 29. And she didn't get married to anybody until 1937. Who was?
Melvin V. Click Sr.
Click Sr. Melvin V. Click Sr. Upon motion of the litigants, the appeal granted Sadie Hatfield and is now considered as a motion to reverse said decree. Appellate charges error. They said it was an error. We're back on the second appeal.
Okay.
And it's funny in this appeal now, in the trial court's refusal to remove the proceedings of another circuit court, they're asking for them to move that case out of Logan County still yet, now that that other one's been proven invalid. Number 2, in granting of a divorce to her husband, she's wanting the divorce granted, in refusing to grant appellant custody of the children, and a divorce based on her charges of adultery and cruelty on the part of T.S. Hatfield alleged in her answer and cross bill, and denied by the husband. Now he's denied it. Now they're letting them.
So now she's filing for custody of the children?
Now she's wanting custody. This is 1932.
Okay.
Now you've got alimony. She never mentioned the children in the initial divorce, never mentioned wanting the children. She just wanted maintenance fees, they called it.
See, that's not good, though. I mean, a mother should have...
Hatfield v. Hatfield, 109, West Virginia, 212, 153, SE, 493. That's the case law on it. They've evidently made some case law because they've got their own. If you want to look at something on that, we didn't go that far. Therefore, thereafter, the defendant renewed her motion for removal of such circuit court. She still wants it moved out of Logan County. Affidavits of Grant Walters, defendant's brother, Ethel Walters, his wife, and Holbert Ramey. Now, they've signed some affidavits here. Grant Walters is her brother. That's who one of her children is named after. Grant. The essence of these affidavits was that Sadie Hatfield or any witness
in her behalf
and hereafter to appear in Logan Court in the prosecution of her cause. The order was denied.
Okay.
Testimony of 12 persons was taken in open court, and the affidavits of some of the witnesses were likewise filed. Testimony of 12 persons was taken in court. There's where it stated that. Now, you read the court documents for yourself on some of this stuff. There's some pretty harsh allegations in there, especially against her. The litigants were married in 1917. You want to go ahead, babe?
They were married in 1917 and for a time lived in Barnabas, Logan County. But in 1925, upon the election of the plaintiff as sheriff of Logan County, the parties
I'm moving the screen on her, guys. Is what's throwing her off.
The parties took up their residence at Logan and had their living quarters in connection with the county jail. Separation occurred November 18th, 1928, when, as defendant alleges and details in her testimony, she left her home when warned that her husband was coming to kill her.
Now that's coming up now. Now we've got other court documents coming into play. The husband charges his wife with adulterous conduct, but it would serve no useful purpose to detail the evidence adduced to prove the charges. This is the second appeals court, and they're saying they've charged. She's charged her husband with adulterous conduct, and he's charged her. But let's don't get into that.
Right.
Several witnesses testify to acts of sexual intercourse with the wife during the latter part of 1927 and during 1928, while others narrated witnessing scenes of the indecorum. They're saying that not only was people having sexual intercourse. This is court records. This is not Fred talking. This is in the appeals court record.
Wow.
And we gave you the case number at the top. You can go look it up. Several witnesses testified to acts of sexual intercourse with the wife during the latter part of 1927, 1928. Now remember, while others narrated and witnessed it. Remember, she had a child in 1929. She had, was it William Grant?
William Grant was in 1929.
She had William Grant in 1929. Is that what gave tennis? Was tennis away? Was tennis doing something else and comes back and she's pregnant? Was tennis, what's the deal here? What made them split up in November of 1928? But she's been doing this since 1927, they're saying.
The latter part of 1927.
And 28. Would that explain why when she has a child in 29, tennis doesn't file for custody of that one? Or she doesn't file for child support? I think it does. I think the evidence speaks for itself. I think it's called a clue that if you thought that child was any way tennis's and him a man of financial wealth, that you wouldn't be after child support.
Well, they're both were ornery. Sounds alike.
Well, I agree. The finding of adulterous, both of them. Conduct on the part of Sadie Hatfield is substantially supported by the evidence, and we shall not disturb the conclusion of the lower court of that issue. So they're going to go along with the lower court, the appeal, on what they came up with. The prayer of Miss Hatfield's cross bill would dissolve the marital status in her favor on charges of cruelty and adultery on part of Tennis S. Hatfield, Samuel Hatfield.
Wow.
The testimony of Miss Hatfield,
in some instances corroborated by others, but denied in totality by the husband, evidences several occurrences of physical violence and one when he struck her with a whip, cut the blood out clear around.
He hit her with the whip and brought the blood clear around where the whip had hit her. The wife depicts her husband as a person of vicious habits and character and addicted to the use of intoxicants and acme of cruelty. According to her, was evidence on the night of her departure from Logan County when late at night and scantily clad, she was hurried from her home as she prepared for sleep, that she might evade death, a death threat made by her husband and communicated to her by her nephews.
So why didn't she take the kids with her?
She got the heck out of there, didn't she?
Yeah.
She got the heck out of there and she left her children behind.
Well, see, that's
She went to Huntington to stay with her brother. Such an intention is denied by Hatfield, who, however, related that he had been informed that his wife was with another man. J. E.
Sims.
With two M's. Simms. And that he and others had searched for them. Tennis is saying that his wife had been with another man. He denied going to kill her, but he says she was with another man, J.E. Sims.
And that they were searching for him.
They'd been searching for him. I wonder what he's searching for him for. Going to shake his hand? Going to congratulate him? Going to, really? He was searching for him, going to beat his butt. Or worse, she says that she had to leave out of the house half naked. She got out of there because he was coming to kill her. And that's when he filed the divorce on her. The accusations of cruelties Hatfield tells of his gifts to Hatfield. Tennis told the court of all the gifts that he'd given her in the form of luxurious clothing,
expensive automobiles, and costly jewelry.
Yeah. And Miss Hatfield admits she was the recipient of these generosities.
She has like a fur coat on in that picture there.
Well, yeah.
Whatever
Such
you call
conduct does not seem connect with the wife's charges of cruelty. She's saying he was cruel to her. He beat her. But yet she acknowledges that she was the recipient of these generosities. That doesn't mean, we know by domestic violence nowadays that you can't go by that, but that looked good in the court papers from Coleman A. Hatfield. If he was so mean to her, why did she take all these gifts? She didn't have no problem taking all the gifts he'd given her. Likely Hatfield was not the gentle spouse, but it appears that some of the bickering which occurred were prompted by accusations on the part of the wife. That's the court.
So some of their findings that they had was because she was
fooling around. Hatfield's denial of the alleged acts of cruelty was sustained by the trial chancellor, and on conflicting testimony, this court cannot say there is an error in that conclusion. Various imputations of immorality on the part of Hatfield are detailed by Miss Hatfield and others. She relates an incident in 1928. She's going to tell her part now. Now she's going to get hers out. She relates an incident in 1928 when she found her husband in bed with Virginia
Pug,
P-U-G-H. An occasion when she witnessed a kissing scene between her husband and Bessie Chafin. Bessie Chafin. Remember now, the Hatfields and Chafins are related over there in that area pretty heavy. I'm wondering, like Ellis and Hatfield and Harriet cousins, or Cap Hatfield and Nancy cousins. I wonder if Tennis and Bessie was any relation. I don't know, but who the wife inputs figured in the sensual affairs
of her husband as early as 1922.
Oh, he's done beat her.
Snapples.
He says that she's been unfaithful since 1927. She backs it up. She says Tennis has been fooling around since 1922. And she points to his associations with Margaret
Botany
as a violation of his marital duty, and that prior to her departure, his limiting practice had produced an illegitimate child. Wow. So now we've got 2 children by her out of wedlock, and she's saying that he had an illegitimate child with Margaret Botany. Wow. He gets good, guys. Hang with us. I know we're into an hour, but it gets good. We ain't got much longer, but it's worth listening to if you're a historian. This is Tennis Hatfield. This is people that says they're descendants from Tennis Hatfields.
Wow.
That may not be. Very possible not be.
Another witness
unless you're Jack Tennis Jr. or Henry Hatfield's descendant. Now, there was a daughter there, but she died at birth, it seems.
Yeah, Alice.
Thank you, babe.
I did remember it.
Another witness describes the incident where he found Hatfield in his office exercising familiarity with a Nelson girl whose clothing was pulled above her knees.
Oh, snap.
Grant Walters,
A brother of Mrs. Hatfield is sustaining his sister's charge of infidelity against Hatfield. Relates a conversation between him and Hatfield, wherein the latter sought his aid in persuading Sadie to spend several months of 1928 away from Logan. The reason assigned by the Hatfield, therefore, being that Molly White, this is another person, was laying that baby she's going to have to be Tennis's, and that his wife will raise the devil and maybe knock Joe, which is his brother, and candidate for nomination of sheriff out of the nomination.
okay, guys.
Snapples.
Grant Walters, the brother of Sadie, he gives a statement in court, and he says that Tennis had approached him and asked that he take Sadie, persuade her to spend some months away from Logan County. Wants her to spend some time away because he's got another girl pregnant, Molly White, and she's lying with a baby she's going to be having to me.
Mm-hmm.
And that his wife will raise the devil.
So this lady's getting ready to have a baby, and
He don't want this. He don't want this out right now.
Mm-hmm.
He knows Sadie's going to raise Cain, and or raise the devil. I don't know if he's calling the baby a devil or she's going to raise the devil.
She's going to throw a duck fit.
Laying that the baby she is going to have to me.
Yeah, she's saying that the baby he's going to have is Tennis's, and that she's going to raise the devil, meaning she's going to throw a duck fit. Mm-hmm.
There is substantial evidence that Tennis Hatfield was frequently seen in his automobile in company with Margaret Botany, a girl of
16 years old, guys,
whose mother of foreign birth was the proprietress of the hotel visited frequently by Hatfield, who claims his visitations were occasioned by politics and the campaign current in 1928. He wasn't there for no bad deeds. He just happened to go to the hotel. And while one witness states that Margaret Botany and Hatfield did not remain in the lobby of the hotel with the others, but that they had a room like that, seemed like they met in. Mm-hmm. The same witness admits the family would be in and out, and that if he found the girl and Hatfield alone, they were sitting on chairs. There is evidence also that one occasion Hatfield followed the girl into a room at the hotel, and that they remained in there for 30 to 45 minutes. According to Hatfield, his acquaintance with Margaret Botany prior to his wife's departure was merely casual. They just sat there on them chairs and talked. Well, you're going to hear in a minute. It is not denied, however, that the following separation of the litigants, Hatfield established that the Botany girl in charge of his home and children. He brought her home with him.
16 years old, and he brought her home.
He brought this Botany girl home with him, 16 years old, to take care of his home and his children. Both Hatfield and the girl deny any improprieties or illicit relationship. The evidence discloses correspondence purporting to have been written by Margaret Botany, but denied by her. Evidently, they had written this up, but she denied all the things that they had said. One letter written on stationery was printed, heading Miss T.S. Hatfield, care of Logan County Jail. Logan, West Virginia, reads in part, Tennis and me gets along fine. We was for a fishing trip and had more fun. He's better to me and never whips me anymore. Now, that was a letter supposed to be from Sadie. They've got Sadie also testifies that she had never used a stationery or of that kind, and signed Margaret. Another letter signed Margaret and addressed to Miss Mary Stanley, Martinsville, Ohio, relates to the purchase of expensive clothing attendance at the reunion. Anyway, it is difficult to assert from the testimony of Margaret Botany just how soon after Miss Hatfield's departure. Go ahead.
That she became employed by Hatfield. But it is clear that intermittently, Margaret Botany would visit her mother in Ohio, each time remaining there for several months and then returning to Hatfield's employment.
Her testimony was taken just a few days after her return from one of her prolonged visits. All accusations and inferences of immorality are denied, not only by Hatfield, but by the other witness. The scene Miss Hatfield describes between the Pug girl, and Hatfield is countered by members of the Pug family who assert their presence was in the room where Hatfield and the girl were at the time of the wife's visit. Pug's premises and deny any improprieties. See, like Sheila said a while ago, you've got a he said, she said.
Yeah. The Botany girl refutes the testimony of Mrs. Hatfield's witness, who tell of Margaret Botany's being with Hatfield either in the automobile or in any room alone, and both Hatfield and the girl deny any acts.
Likewise, the denials of improper conduct by Bessie Chafin and Edna Nelson mitigate against the testimony of the wife and her. So each one of those brought witnesses to court. And they're saying, each one of them trying to tell the other one, he's a liar, but I'm telling the truth. She's a liar, but I'm telling the truth. Here's my witnesses. Okay, here's my witnesses.
There's a hodgepodge of people in this one.
On conflicting testimony, the trial chancellor has given approval to the divorce commissioner's findings, which absolve Hatfield from the charge of adultery and will
not.
Oh my God, he's having an illegitimate child up there. He's already said he's got a child coming by whatever her name was. Mabel White or whatever it was. And we are not disposed to disturb that finding under. So they're going to leave the original divorce in play.
Okay.
But may we give such abomination to Hatfield's conduct as to dissolve the marriage
status in his favor.
We have just noted that under the evidence, Hatfield may not be stamped an adulterer.
So they're saying he wasn't cheating, but she was.
That's what that says right there. Now, we're not going to read all these case law. Guys, there's a bunch of case law. I'm scrolling down through here. There's this is a big case. If you want to go through it.
There's a lot to it, guys.
You may find other things, but here, what was there in the misconduct of Tennis Hatfield which caused or contributed to the adultery of Sadie Hatfield? We have already concluded that the finding of the lower court navigated the charges of cruelty and adultery. There is, however, no denial that Hatfield placed Margaret Botany in charge of. Didn't he go on to marry her?
He did. I don't remember when he married her, but he did marry her.
We'll probably have it here. That's he wasn't having no affair with the 16-year-old girl and all that, but he. Home and children a short time after his wife left. So after he divorced his wife, and she left, he moved the 16-year-old in. The circumstances leads color to the stories of persons who tell of the companionship between Hatfield and the girl before Miss Hatfield's departure, as to the aroused suspicion. But this occurred after Miss Hatfield left, and therefore could not be said to have been cause of the infidelity. We find no error in the judgment of the trial chancellor and therefore affirm the decree, and it's affirmed. So their divorce is final. It's over with. Now the question here is, on mine and Sheila's part, is the fact that you've got two children in play. You've got one illegitimate child, at least one that Tennis is making known. They named the people. They're in those appeals papers. They're in those court papers. It's not something anybody added in there or didn't. It's we guys, we don't care. That's what people don't understand about Sheila and me. We like history. We like the truth to come out. We like proof. This is proof. Tennis had at least one illegitimate child. There he is in the court documents, and who he came from.
Right.
Or she. Did it say?
Could be he or she.
It didn't say, did it?
Said she was having a baby and said it was his.
Yeah. And we know that Sadie had two children out of wedlock.
Yeah.
because she's divorced. And she's been
1929.
having affairs at least since 1927.
That's what
And
they're
he names,
saying.
huh?
That's what he said, yeah.
That's what he says. I mean, it's there. And he names in court documents the Sims guy.
Sims,
And I'm wondering if Sims did they date for a couple of years and she had a couple of children? Who knows? I'm alleging. I'm speculating.
So
we know they're not Tennis's, babe.
Right, because she had 2 children
They're
after
not
the
Tennis's.
divorce, and then married Mr. Click in 1937.
Where was those? Oh, you're going to show those at the end of the. You're going to show those documents at the end of the thing. I forgot.
She did have a son. I can remember, and she named him Melvin after the husband. But
what did I do with them? Yeah, we've already had a board in the museum for years with Sadie and Tennis on it and a little bit of their history. But I'm looking here, and Sheila's going to put it at the end of this video, but I'm looking here at Sadie as Tombstone and Click, Melvin V. Click. Sadie's middle name was
Viola.
Viola. On Sadie's tombstone, it's got Sadie H. Hatfield. Sadie H.
Why not put Walters?
Why not put your middle initial? Viola. Why not put V? Now, Hatfield seemed like she didn't want to give up the Hatfield name. She liked that Hatfield name.
That's interesting. Yeah,
notice the H on the tombstone. You'll see it when y'all see these pictures. Sheila posts us at the end. And then, of course, here's children. Tennyson Samuel Hatfield Jr., 1918, 1978. There's Alice Hatfield. She was born in 1919, so she was born after Tennis and before Jack.
Right.
But supposedly she died at birth. And then you've got Jack Andrew, handsome Jack Hatfield. That was Stephen Hatfield's father, a friend of mine and Sheila's. Stephen and Debbie lived there at Sarah Ann. And he knew the history better than anybody in that area, and he didn't care to tell it on either party.
He was born in 1922. Did we say that?
Jack was? Jack, no, we didn't, but thank you. Jack was born in 1922 and died in 2009. Oh. In fact, when we met Stephen, it was probably around 2012, 2013, him and Debbie.
Yeah.
His dad hadn't been dead long, and he was heartbroken.
Heartbroken, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, him and his dad was close. Henry Drury Hatfield. Now, remember Henry Drury? There was another Henry Drury, the son of good Elias Hatfield. His son became the governor, 14th governor of West Virginia. So you guys should have a monument of over there in Logan County. You had a governor from your state. You got a monument up on the hill of a murderer and a deserter, a criminal. And you've got a governor that was from Logan County and don't even as much as have, not that I'm aware of. Anyway, he was named after Henry Drury Hatfield, his uncle. And this Henry was born in 1925. Remember, they filed for divorce in 1928. So he would have been 3 years old when they filed for divorce. There's William Grant Hatfield. There's his tombstone. We're going to go by there. We're going to go by, I think he's buried. Could I be wrong? I'm probably wrong on that one.
Yeah.
So we'll check and see where he's buried. But I know that Sadie is buried over in Floyd County.
Floyd, yeah.
But there's William Grant's tombstone. It says he was born on July the 4th, 1929. He died on July the 4th, 2012.
He died on
the same day he was born.
Yeah.
Guys, that's the one in question.
Wow.
That's the one in question. Because there's another gentleman that says this was his father or grandfather, his father, I believe it is. And if he's not Tennis Hatfield's son, and he don't appear to be, it appears that Sadie has just given him the Hatfield name because she was at that time divorced, unwed, and he was born out of wedlock, so she gave him the Hatfield name. Then Melvin Click.
She was born in,
I think they were married in 1937.
I mean, the girl, Joanne, was born in 33.
Yeah,
William Grant was born in 29, and she was born in 33.
And at that time, remember, that's who they said that she was with. When she left the house, she was having an affair with the Sims.
Right.
And did that continue for the next couple of years and he just didn't marry her? Was he a married man himself? We don't know. We're speculating.
Yeah.
Some of stuff is speculation. But when you've got it in court documents that he had 3 kids that he took custody of,
He took those 3
and
kids.
William Grant wasn't one of them, I would assume that William Grant was not his.
Mhm.
And if he is his, let's say that it's somewhere in that range. And if he is his, DNA would prove it. Is one of those people that goes by numbers on a DNA test, somebody that maybe in checking to see, and then the test didn't come back like they thought it would. And they said, well, I'm not putting my name on this. I'm not owning this. So we ask these people that represents Pike County Tourism and stands there and holds prayer and tells all these stories, if they're related, and to have a DNA. Jack's no different than them. A lot of them has. Jack went and done it.
Yeah.
So we've got to do that. If you want this attention, if you want this to spread these stories that you spread that's so inaccurate that you're making up as they go, like Jack was doing, you be tested. At least show us that you're at least related to tennis. Stories won't be correct, but at least you could show that you were related. What would be the telltale sign is to come back and you're a Sims or you're a
one of the other 12 that they
Walters,
accused.
You're something else. It could happen. Happens all the time.
Yeah, it does.
DNA is great. Besides DNA, God is great.
There you go.
Let's remember that. God is great. Guys, I get on here and get on this stuff, and I try to, it may sound like I'm angry. I'm not angry. I just get on a path, and I follow the evidence that that's the way I was as a police officer. You get on something, and you follow it till the end, and you investigate it, and you try to prove your case. If you don't prove your case, you tried. If you do prove your case, then let that be the precedence. These people that's on these Facebook pages that reads this history, and you're reading, they don't read history, you're reading bull poop, but you take it as history, then sad on you. Believe what you want, but here's history. Court documents, nothing beats court documents, Civil War documents.
Nope. Backs up what you're saying.
Go ahead, babe. You're up. You got anything on this?
No, this was a very interesting, wild and crazy case. But like you said, we'll put the documents at the end to show everything that we're saying and the case numbers or whatever, so you can go look it up yourself. So thanks for watching.
Guys, I give Sheila the credit. A gentleman from Logan County, a good friend of ours, and I don't know if he wanted his name mentioned, so I won't. But he's knowledgeable. Well, I won't even say that.
He just lives.
He knows the history, and it's not Jack. I'm not referring to Jack, and nothing against Jack, but Jack doesn't know the history. But with that said, Sheila will post all these documents at the end. Go look up these cases, research them for yourself. If we've said something incorrect, please correct us, because we want to correct history out there. But we think we've got this part. Our point in this case was to prove that Tennis claimed 3 children. Those 3 boys he claimed. This 4th one that come along and are not. He's never made claim to them. She's never made claim to Tennis being the father of them. She never tried to get child support. We can go on and on.
Whew.
It's
very interesting.
Case closed in our book. Until they give a DNA and prove that they're Tennis Hatfield's grandson, we're going to have to call it that they're illegitimate.
Yeah.
Illegitimate as it stands right now. Now they can prove us wrong by simply taking a DNA and it coming back, and that would be great. No problem there. But as of right now, they're illegitimate. Well, just like Tennis Hatfield had a child, at least one in court documents illegitimately.
Yeah.
It appears from what we've uncovered and in court documents and in that Sadie also had at least illegitimately out of wedlock.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys.
Well, thanks for watching, guys. We hope you have a great day. Please like, subscribe, and share, and we'll catch you on the next one. Bye. God bless.
God bless.